What I would say about that is doing those kinds of ones or even the local ones that maybe only cost you 25, 30, 40 bucks to get into, whether it's a church or a parking lot in a business locally, do those ones because especially in the beginning, if you've never done them, what it does is teach you how to set up. It teaches you how to break down. It teaches you how to be in front of people. It gets you comfortable with doing
Talking.
the whole thing.
Welcome to the Charcuterie and Cottage Biz podcast. Ready to turn your boards, bakes, and bites into real profits? Then you're in the right place. We're your hosts and real-life sisters, Chef Andrea and digital marketer Patty. We're excited to dish out fast, actionable tips and advice to help you price smarter, market bigger, and grow your food business online. From passion to profits, your recipe for success begins right here. Now let's start the show. Hey, welcome back to our little podcast. Actually, our little podcast, I should check, but I think we've hit 4,000 downloads.
Oh, I haven't
So,
looked this week. So everybody, we've been traveling, my sister and I. We had our niece's wedding, and so we went back east and yeah, still trying to, she's still back east because
yeah,
she's
I'm
got a
still back
singing
east.
thing
Yeah, my
going on.
sister-in-law, say
I
hey,
know, I was
Barb.
just saying Barb's back
She's in the
there.
backpack. Yeah, we're visiting my brother. Yeah. So, yeah, we had a
She's
wedding to
visiting
go
in
to.
Michigan.
Yeah. We went to a wedding down in the Atlanta area, and then we jumped in the car and I drove back up to Michigan to spend the week here. And next week I will be in Columbus singing at a contest all week. So
Hmm.
my lovely sister-in-law set me up with a mic here because nothing was working in my out of my
Quit
bag that I
touching
had.
it. Hey,
Don't touch
so
anything.
don't
Yeah.
touch
Oh
anything.
my
You
God.
keep or you know what? You're shaking the table. That's what it is.
Oh,
If
sorry.
anybody's
Yeah,
on
stop
YouTube watching us, she's shaking the
shaking
table.
the table. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
keep my hands on it.
I
Um,
can see
yeah,
you bouncing up
anyway.
and down. Ah.
But yeah, I got a few weeks. So we're just trying to knock some of these podcasts out so you guys don't miss us while we're busy traveling doing stuff. But yay. Yeah, I got up and hi, you told me it was in the 30s up there today. So whoa.
Yes, look, I got a sweatshirt on. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
I got up and hiked this morning in 30-degree weather here too. Not hiked, I walked in 30-degree weather because my sister-in-law drug me out of the house. So I'm all there. So I'm gonna commit for the week while I'm here.
Yeah.
So yeah, morning. So I said to Andrew, what are we gonna do? She goes, let's talk about pop-ups. And I'm like, okay, you know more about those than I do, but because she's the market queen. But
Hmm.
so we're gonna just kind of talk about, well, first of all, what is a pop-up in case you're new at all of this, and also what maybe 10 tips about working a pop-up. So you want to stick around for that because we're going to go through those 10 tips. But why don't you explain, Andrew, what a pop-up is to everybody who may not know? Like,
Sure.
I've heard of the term, but never really realized what it was. She goes, you know what it is? And I go, I do. And then you explained, yes, I know exactly what they are, but they
Yeah.
just call them
The
something different.
right. The pop-up is like I don't know if that's a recent term. Maybe somebody can fill us in on that in the comments, but I think I've just always called it just a vendor event. It's like, like a farmer's market or, like all these Christmas events coming up. What I'd like to do here in this particular podcast, just give people some tips about how to handle it, how to sell yourself while you're at the pop-ups, that kind of thing, because I find I've done a ton of them. So maybe there's other people out there that have been doing this lifetime. I wish I would have started doing this ages ago because first of all, these are my kind of people and we're all craftsy and stuff. And if you
Yeah.
love making food for other people, whether you're making breads or cookies or donuts or like, selling something else that you can sell in your area, even if it is charcuterie, some people can pre-wrap them and sell them out of their coolers and such. Um, they it's just a fun thing to do. Like it's really, really fun. It don't get me wrong, it's hard work, but in the end, if you get
Schlepping
good
stuff in.
ones, they pay off
Yeah.
very
So
well. Their return on investment.
other than a farmer's market, you could pop up somewhere like maybe a local store, coffee shop, maybe a vineyard, something like that, where they're allowing you to come in because you would be a good complement, whatever it is you're selling,
Hmm.
charcuterie, cakes or what cookies or whatever. That you could set up an arrangement with a local store or something like that
Hmm.
where it makes sense for you to be there, a boutique. something
Yeah.
along those lines, right? So or, maybe you set up like a charcuterie and sip night, something like that, where
Yeah.
they're, setting up something that it would be great for you to be there.
Hmm.
Maybe like a community festival or some sort of obviously upcoming holiday events that are out and
Hmm.
about. So, yeah, I mean, you're basically setting up like a booth of some sort, most likely,
Right. It's
right?
just a,
Or your
it's a
charcuterie
pop-up.
cart,
Yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a pop-up shop. So you're
right?
just, putting your tables out and maybe putting your what do you call those things? Canopy thing above your head for weather
Mm-hmm.
related and keeping the sun off your products. So that
Yeah.
is the simplest terms. This is what we
So,
got when we went to look it up. Let me read it. A pop-up lets you test your business in the real world without the huge cost of renting a permanent space. It's a chance to meet your customers face to face and show off your products and build your brand. That's a great description of what that is.
right,
Getting
right.
in front of people without actually owning a brick and mortar is huge. It really is. And people follow
So,
you.
do they always require you to pay? Like, I guess you
Mhm.
could say
Most
that
of them.
pop up you did at the place that you went to a couple weeks ago. You did kind of an event outside. I can't think of the
Oh,
name
I
of the stupid
did.
thing.
I
Um,
don't remember now, but I did a local event. So yeah, I mean
they didn't
everybody.
charge you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did Tractor Supply once. So everybody should know Tractor Supply in your neighborhood. If you have one, they do a once a month or something like that, what they call farmers markets. And basically they let the artisans come in and set up shop in their parking lot and they don't charge anything. There's no
Hmm.
organization to it. You just get there, you take whatever spot you feel like. They say, go over there and, pick a spot. So it wasn't like a huge turnout by any means. I mean, I made money that day, but it wasn't something to write home about. I
Right.
just wanted to try it because I was bored that day, actually. I didn't have any plans, and I'm like, it's nice outside finally. I'm gonna go do the Tractor Supply. But
Yeah,
if
but
you're
if
t
you,
what I would say about that is doing those kinds of ones or even the local ones that maybe only cost you 25, 30, $40 to get into, whether it's a church or a parking lot and a business locally, do those ones because especially in the beginning, if you've never done them, what it does is teach you how to set up. It teaches you how to break down. It teaches you how to be in front of people. It gets you comfortable with doing
talking to
the whole
folks.
thing. Because
Yeah.
I will tell you that the first one I ever did was a one here in Prescott Valley, which is just a local market, and it's $35 every time you go, and they do it every weekend. That was the very first one I ever did. I remember being so nervous because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was so glad that I did it because, my daughter came and sat with me. She helped me set up, and it was more
Hmm.
just to figure it all out.
Are you tired of guessing what to charge for your boards? Are you spending hours shopping and prepping only to wonder, did I even make money on this order? Hey, it's Grazing Biz sister Patty here, and I get it. Pricing your charcuterie boards, tables, cups, and carts shouldn't feel like throwing spaghetti against the wall. That's why sister Chef Andrea and I wrote Charcuterie Profit Secrets, the book that shows you exactly what to charge, what to buy, and how to finally run a profitable charcuterie business without burning out. No matter how long you've been in business, you'll learn our pricing secrets on how to buy smart, price confidently, and reduce waste while making real profits in your charcuterie business. Grab your copy at grazingbiz.com/profit secrets and turn your passion into a real paycheck. Well,
And
that's exactly it. I think you get a chance to meet your audience and build
you
some
do.
relationships with people and find out what it is they would like to see you sell. And you can talk to
Hmm.
them and test your
Hmm.
pricing out,
Yeah.
see how much you can get away with, right?
Right. And you meet the
Um,
other vendors, which are an infinite source of information. When most of them have been there, done it, they've done the big ones, they've done the little ones, they do it for fun, they do, retired or whatever they are. Some people are really serious and do them and that's what they do. So you learn so much from those other vendors and everybody's willing to tell you, whatever you need to know. Nobody's hiding they're very transparent. They're not hiding anything. They want
Yeah.
everybody to succeed. So
Right. I also
that's
think,
why I
if
say
you're,
it's my kind of people. They're friendly, they're nice. People are there because they want to be there. They don't necessarily want to buy anything, you know. A lot of times the people
how
walking
dare
through,
they?
yeah, but they just like to look and they like to talk, and it's just a great environment. It's fun,
Right.
it's positive. There's nothing
I
bad
think
about
I
it.
think too, just by being out there, you have a good chance of getting people to buy impulsively, and
Mhm.
so they might not have been walking
Right.
by to plan to come there to see you, but then they whatever it is you're selling, are going, oh wait a minute, look at these little shrimps on a keychain. I need that, or whatever it is,
Stop with those
Um,
shrimps.
but it's even though they taste and smell like plastic,
The Timu special,
emu
which
special. What
heaven
did you
forbid.
buy
I don't
those
even
things?
know. I haven't looked them up to see what the hell the tariffs has done to those poor little things. So that's going to have to be a whole nother story for another time. The
Those
tariffs are
were
killing
like hot
everybody.
sellers. You'd buy you would you pay for them like $1 and then
I don't
sell them
even
for
remember.
4?
They were cheap. I bought a whole bunch. If nobody knows that story, I bought these shrimp. They look exactly like cocktail shrimp that you would eat at,
Hmm.
shrimp cocktail. And I bought them initially to put on earrings, and they ended up being humongous. And I put them on keychains and filled up this basket on my table. And my God, I sold out on them. And then Patty was like convinced that they would do great as earrings, which they did okay, but they definitely do better in the basket as single. And because I put them in like shrimp, like cocktail martini glasses at one point in time, but the glass kept falling over. But you know, whatever gets people to the table, and then they
Right.
look at everything else, those dumb keychains. I did in the end. I mean, I had to make them because I had to put the keychains on them, so I counted them as homemade. But anyway, just
Yeah.
any silly thing, you never know what's going to take off, and that was one of them. It brought people to the table, and therefore I sold other stuff because they were like, "What the heck is that lady selling? Is she selling
Yeah.
shrimp?" So,
Well, that's a great segue. What you said is it
yeah.
brought people to the table. So
Uh-huh.
when we talk about that, because you're there amongst a bunch of other vendors, I
Mhm.
would think you'd want to stand out somehow. So how would you recommend you design your tent and your display? And
Mhm.
one of the things that bugs me because I see these, I go into the groups and I see, oh, what do you think of my event tent? And then everything's laying flat on the
Yeah,
table and there's no signage, or the
right.
signage is in front of the table and if people walk up to it, you're not going to be able to see any of that signage in my opinion. But
Hmm.
what kind of let's give us some tips and ideas on the best way to design your pop-up tent or
Sure.
display so that people will stop, right? First you said stand up, so that's number one, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
that's my advice.
that was another podcast, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But the first thing is setting up. Now, I have retail and food merchandising background, so I know from experience that layering things, tiering things, so having different, you know, tiered products, try to bring them up to as high. So I did put my tables are all on these block things that I bought from Amazon. So I brought the tables up about, I don't know, I'd say 5 inches so that people don't
Yeah,
have to
explain
look
that.
down. Yeah, they don't have to look down. You kind of want to have them looking as straightforward ahead at the products to get them to the table. So if they have to look down, they're not going to see it. People just, I don't know. That's just the way it is. That's retail. That's why all your products and your sale products when you go into grocery stores is all eye level. Those people, those companies that pay for those eye level spots, they pay premium to be in those spots in the grocery stores. And the same applies to anything else, even in your little pop-up. So you want to bring things up as high as you can get them. Definitely don't just lay them flat on the table. Everybody's going to keep walking. They will. They'll keep walking. Try to have as much signage with big signs on them so that people can see that it might be something they could afford because people are always hesitant to walk to the table because they think they can't afford it or they don't want to spend that much or whatever. I don't have anything on my table that's more than $12. And I did that intentionally because
Mhm.
that also brings people to the table. When they see a stupid shrimp keychain for $5, they're going to come over and look at it.
Right.
So they see the sign. So you want to, definitely have your signage in place. And the other thing that I found helps a lot is I made an A-frame that sticks out like in the walkway. You have to make sure it's tall enough so people don't trip over it because I've had people do
And it's
that.
allowed.
Yeah, and as long as it's allowed, in a like a farmer's market or whatever, and you have a little A-frame that just kind of explains your business and what you sell and what they're going to see if they walk in there. I am personally not a big fan of making the whole shop look like an indoor and outdoor store. So
Yeah.
I do a U
Yeah.
shape, but I don't make it take up the entire tent. It's they only walk about 2 feet in, and I have a small table on each side, and then I have a big table so it is a U shape, but it's a very short U shape.
I think
And
it
that's
depends on how
mostly
much
it
product
ha
you
it,
have too,
it
right?
does. It depends on how much product you have, but a lot of people will make those huge U shapes that take up the entire 10 by 10 space, and then they put everything flat on the table.
Hmm.
And not a big fan of that.
I want to
Just
go back really
visually.
quick because you talked about the raising up the table, and I'll try to put a link and a picture here at this
Mhm.
moment so you can see what where she was talking about. But it they're little, in this case I think they're black, right? But you can
Yeah.
buy those that actually raise up your beds. Because I think
Hmm.
that's where I saw them for the first time, where you put them underneath your corners of your beds to raise your bed up.
Yeah.
But it's the same concept where they're just little
Hmm.
square plastic things that you can put underneath the legs of your table and
Hmm.
raise up your thing. So I'll put a link in a picture so you get an idea what we're talking about. But I thought that was a really good idea. Plus, on top of that, if you're tall like me, you're gonna be bending over everything. So
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
case
Yeah.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
other
yeah.
thing that you see a lot, and I know that you did this when you were doing your donuts way back in the day, was just a PVC piping. That's the
That's
right
right.
size of your table, the right size of your table leg. You just go and get them cut all the same size, whatever height you want to make that, and then you just stick them on the end on each table leg, and that will also bring your table up to whatever you want,
Great
which
idea. I totally
I've been
forgot we did that.
reconsidering that as an option because I like the 5 inches I probably have on mine, but I kind of wanted a little bit like another 2 inches, like 6 inches. So I've been thinking
Yeah,
about
then you
doing
can
that.
make them any height you want.
And
So
then
that's I forgot about
tablecloths,
that.
go right with that. So in the beginning, I didn't have any money when I started doing this. I had no money. I had to use my husband's work tables, which are no big deal, but they had to be covered. And I didn't have any money, so I went to the thrift store and I bought sheets. I bought king size white sheets and I just use tablecloths that I had from holiday parties so I can go seasonal with those, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or springtime or whatever. And I just throw those over the white ones and then I use
Hmm.
what do you call those things? I don't know, things that hold the
The
tablecloth
clamps.
on. Yeah, the
Yeah,
clamps.
little clamp things.
So there's a lot of people out there that do the whole fancy setup with the fancy, tight fitting
Yeah.
tablecloths, catering tablecloths, whatever those things are called. I don't use those, and the reason I don't is because I like to put things under the table, and you can't really do that easily with those types of tight fitting tablecloths.
Right.
I like to hide as much of the garbage that I have to carry with me, whether it be I mean, everybody's
Okay,
got it.
mom, garbage
I
lady.
know you've got boxes, you've got totes, you've got, I have totes that keep the plastic bags and, whatever. So I like to put them under the table so I don't have it all hanging around in the back part. You want your area to look nice and clean and neat, and
Right.
you can't do that with those types of tablecloths. That's my
Yeah.
opinion. But some
If you
people
listen
like the
to
way that looks. So if
yeah,
that's you, then go for it. Just
we've
keep your
talked about this.
face clean.
We've talked about this in past podcasts of the lady that was at some event you were at, and it was so she was selling charcuterie out there, but
Yeah.
nobody would have touched it with a 10-foot pole because her tent just looked like a mess. So
It
yeah,
was it
definitely
was a
want to do that.
total, yeah, it was a total cluster. She had just stuff laying all around and it was piled up, like
Yeah.
I don't even know what you describe that, but she just had stuff piled up everywhere and it wasn't neat, it wasn't clean, it wasn't organized. I'm sure the charcuterie table looked fine, but the
Hmm.
rest of it was, just eye deceiving because all you're doing in my case, because that's just what I do anyways, is I'm looking around going, what in the world is happening back there? So you just don't want your garbage just laying all over whatever it is that you've got for backup and stock. Don't leave
Yeah.
it just
Especially if
slopping
you're
all
selling
over.
food, you don't want that.
Especially if you're selling food. I mean, it applies to everybody, whether you're doing artisan anything. I see so many cute little bakery things that some people that I've seen lately are just doing the greatest job keeping their bakery goods on the table. They're leveled, they have these cute little things, and then their whole background is nice and neat and clean,
Hmm.
and that's how it should be. You don't want to distract people by your mess in the background.
Yeah. Well,
So
let's
that's
talk. When we first got on, you were talking about you just signed up for another event and
Mhm.
the Briar Patch for those of you in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And you were saying you called them and said, "I will come if I'm not in this particular I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there. I want to be in this area." So let's talk
Right.
about location.
Hmm.
If you are going to do an event that's a big farmers market type thing, like my husband and I a couple weeks ago, in like the only day it rained that week. I mean, it dumped. We went down and did an event, a farmers market, and we were singing, and they put us like way at the end of the food court area where no one could hear us or see us. It was
Hmm.
really kind of annoying, and we went there and weren't getting charged to be there, which means uh we weren't, and we were just playing for tips basically because we weren't
Hmm.
selling anything and nobody came down there. So location, as us real estate
Yeah.
agents say. So explain why you wanted, well, tell them where you wanted to be and why you want it. You location wise in the place is key.
Yeah, this particular event I did a couple of years ago. I didn't do it last year. I don't know why. I think I was booked for other things and I don't know what happened. But anyways, um, so I decided to go back to them because it worked out in my schedule. And I emailed the lady and I said, hey, I want to do it, da 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 da. But I don't want to be. So in this case, it was in a high school and they had a courtyard in the high school out here in Arizona. The kids go out, their cafeteria area is mostly outside. They may pick up their food and then they can walk around outside and they can sit at tables out there in a courtyard. And then they also opened up the library for this event. They put people down hallways, they put people in other weird spots. And I ended up, when I did this 2 years ago, in a great spot, right in the main drag of the courtyard. And I didn't ask for it at the time. That's just where she could fit me in. And so when I emailed her yesterday, I said, "Hey, I want to sign up, but I only want to be in the courtyard. I don't want to be down the hallways. I don't want to be in the library. I don't, I want to be in the courtyard." And she wrote me back and go, "We'll put you wherever you want,
Off the traffic.
So
Yeah.
yeah. It's important to kind of scope and understand the events, especially if you're paying a lot. Now, I am at a point in my business where I can spend money and be in those bigger events that are not 25, 35, $40. I can spend the 400 and all of that and get my return back on it. But you have to know those. And unfortunately, the only way you're ever going to figure that out is by doing them. So,
Sometimes it
but in
is.
this case, I knew where I was going. I knew what I wanted. And so it is very important to ask where you're going to end up and kind of hopefully see a diagram or a map of some sort so you can choose your spot. Sometimes you
Right.
have to pay more for that spot if you're
Well,
doing the big foot traffic ones.
well, and if
But
it's not like a market and you're gonna be there with a whole bunch of people, you still want to know where it is,
yeah, you do.
because you want people to be able to see you. If you're just showing up at a wine tasting event or I don't know, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that you're not going to be hidden around a corner somewhere that no one's going to know that you're there. I'm smiling because I remember when you got that gig and you were kind of disappointed because you were in the courtyard, but you were right near the bathroom, and
I
you were like kind of
was.
disappointed. But to be honest with you, I think it was a
It
great
worked out
location.
positive. Yeah.
People have to go to the bathroom, so everybody was coming by there. You
Not
know,
only that, this is when I didn't know what I was doing. I was retailing okay, but it's hard to explain. But I didn't know what I was doing. It's still at the table. I went back and looked at it, and it still looked great. But I changed up the products and things that I'm doing since then. But what I did realize is that not only that, but the men or the women or whoever were waiting for their partners or their friends or whoever, they're standing literally right next to my table.
Yeah.
Um, and it's not like the bathroom smelled or anything. It just there was traffic there because the bathrooms were there. It was
Yeah.
awesome. So I
Oh, it's a
did
good
tell her
spot.
I was by the bathrooms and I'd like to have that spot again.
Hmm.
So we'll see. She said, yes, yes, we want to work with you. We'll make it work, whatever you want. Da da da.
So at an
Okay.
event like this, I know it's kind of tough because if you're doing a cottage type sale, you've got to have everything packaged if you're going to bring it and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. How do
Labeled.
you do that if you're going to can you give samples? Because I know you give samples, and I think some
Mm-hmm.
of us are just getting away with it because I don't know that it's
Yeah.
necessarily allowed all the time, right?
So I'm not
You want to
gonna
give samples.
encourage anybody to do whatever you're not supposed to do. The only thing I can tell you is that there are people giving samples. You want to have the label there saying what the sample is, what's in the sample, more importantly, because if somebody's allergic to something, they need to be able to read what it is. So just make sure it's labeled properly. In our state, it does clearly state that each and every single sample needs to be labeled. I mean, that's
Hmm.
unrealistic. So you know that most people, if anybody's been to the farmers markets or whatever, those dip people, they're just, they're putting the signs in front of the different things that
Hmm.
they're sampling. Just make sure that there's some way for people to see what the ingredient list is and what the name of it is and all of that stuff. Just
Yeah.
make sure you're doing that. So I sample
I,
soups and that's what I do. I have the sign with the clear labeling of what I'm serving.
hmm.
And
So
they
they
just
can
get a
read it.
little, I
I
just
was
use.
kind of perplexed because I was watching a video that somebody put in because I'm always on these social groups. You guys know that. So I'm in there and I watched this lady. She's at an event and she's got her, she was selling cookies. She was selling cinnamon rolls, right? But they were in a pan and she literally was taking them out of the pan but obviously she wasn't baking them out there, but she was just taking them out. People were like, "Oh, I'll take one of those," and you could see the video of her people pointing at what they wanted, and they were taking them out of the pan, and she was giving it to them, which I don't believe in any
She was selling
state is
them.
part. She was selling them like
Oh
that,
yeah.
but the only way she could have done that is if she was baking them out at the scene, right?
Hmm.
Because and she had a permit to do that. So I wouldn't consider that part of her cottage. I mean, I don't know where she
No,
was
that
at and
would
how
be
she
a
was getting away
food
with that.
permit. Right. That would be a food permit, a special event food permit. Now, with that being said, you would have to have the three compartment sinks,
Right.
you would
I
have to have the
know.
hand washing station. She probably just was flying under the radar. You'll see that a
Yeah.
lot. They know what they
Wow.
can get away with and they're going to do it. If you're going to buy from those people, do it. I mean, it's up to you, but that's your risk and that's the works.
Yeah, because there
As long
clearly
as it's
wasn't
not
it wasn't
covered in
packaged. There were
flies
no
and
label.
ants, I think you'll be fine. But
Flies, you know how much I love my flies.
I know
We
Patty
were
hates
driving
flies.
home yesterday. There was one stinking fly in the car. I was so mad. We rolled all four windows down. That sucker would not leave. Flies, I hate them. Um,
So, anyways, I know there are people who fly under the radar. It is what it is. Just try not to be that person. Do
yeah.
do your best to stay within the laws. That is
So
that's always
to
going to be
get
the
more
limit.
business while you're out there, I think that's another great way to do this. And I have an event, which I don't know if I told everybody, but I did get a event with the charcuterie cart from to Arizona. It's an event at Arizona State in early November,
Mhm.
and they my plan is really, I mean, for whatever you're paying, whatever you're getting paid there, I'm always going to look at it as making more money because I'm very, very hopeful that I'm going to be able to market myself while I'm there. So I would just, of course, that's where my brain always goes. How can I
Mhm.
make more money off of everything I'm doing? And so I would just encourage you all to be ready to collect names somehow, like collect leads or prospects for future customers, because some people might come up and not be prepared to buy anything from you that day for whatever reason. But
Mhm.
like in your case, you sell your soups, they might buy one and say, but what if I want more? They
Mhm.
got to be able to reach you somehow. So I would make sure that you have, and we've talked about this several times about having some way to market yourself. I think the QR code is really popular these days. Most people
Hmm.
know how to use them. And that's basically hover their phone over, have something like that available for people, not having to sit there and type in your website and then
Right.
go, oh yeah. But
Yeah.
and then to be able to capture their information. And your goal, if you could say, I got a 10% coupon. You could even give them while you're out there and tell them, if you sign up for my mailing list, I'll give you 10% off right now. So
Hmm.
that way you're collecting their information. It goes right into the CRM, customer relationship management database software that immediately you've got them in your world, that now you can tell them where your next event's going to be, or maybe you're going to have something for sale next week or whatever, your holiday stuff coming up, so that you can now automatically communicate with these folks via email and text. I just cannot stress enough how important this is. I don't care what you're selling. I honestly don't care what you sell. You sell
Yeah.
anything, but you can easily capture people's information and have it in your world. Now you can tell the whole world about what you're doing. So offer up something. Usually it's a trade-off, which is like a lead magnet of some sort. So in this case, could be a coupon, right?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
could be it could be buy a BOGO, buy one get one free. We were laughing because I didn't know what that meant until recently. So I'm such an idiot. But um, buy one get one. I guess that's what it is. Um, and something along those lines to get people to give up their info. So if they come to your table for any reason, you're ready. Business cards are fine, but the bottom line is most people are going to throw this in the trash. So and then
Yeah.
that's really not you doing what you need to do to stay in front of them. You're counting on them to get back a hold of you. You don't want that.
Hmm.
You want to be in front of them. So go the other way. You can
Right.
certainly have cards there, but I would really count on having something along those lines. So if you need help with that stuff, you know where to come, right?
Right.
Grazingbiz.com, you know where to
Yep.
come.
We got
Um,
it.
we got you covered for that. So we have
But
all the
yeah, the
tools to do
QR
that.
code is where most of the people, I have a big banner with my QR code on it, and I see people frequently, whether they buy or they don't buy,
Yeah.
um, scanning the QR code. And I have repeat people who have purchased the soups or the earrings. I've had people buy the earrings from me, and most of my stuff is food related, and then email me later going, "Can you make personalized earrings?" So up here, I'm not sure why, but the lady who runs the Purina, like
Dog
marketing
place?
department, yeah,
Oh,
they every year they're ordering earrings and things from me because they go do trade shows, and
oh,
I have their logos in my computer, and I just make them earrings or
that's
whatever
cool.
necklaces or whatever it is, and she sends people out with the earrings on, and she lives locally here, but I think she travels a lot. So
Yeah.
anyway, that's a good example of, business that I would have never expected to come from somewhere else. And then she tells other marketing people within the Purina world across the
Hmm.
country. I sent some to New Jersey not that long ago.
Oh,
So
fun.
that's a good example of you never know what you're going to get or how it's going to happen. And she bought soups and she's ordered soups and she sent them to friends and she sent them to, so she's a really good customer who keeps hitting up my
Love it.
website, or she actually has me on she has me on her phone. So she just texts me now. But I don't do that for everybody.
Send me some
But
more dog jewelry.
yeah, dog joy. It's got the Purina, like that weird sort of checkered logo.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Nice.
so that's how it happens though, folks, is first of all, make sure you're
Word of
getting up
mouth.
and talking to these people. Let's get into that really quick because I know we're going to
Yeah.
end up having to cut this short here in a little bit. My biggest takeaways for the pop-ups: be organized, be ready, do the little ones first so you can learn how you want to set up. Get your products, so you can learn what products are people are looking at and what they want to buy. It's all a testing ground. I can't tell you that. Patty can't tell you that. You're the
Yeah.
only one who can do that for yourself. And get your setup so it's sitting up high enough so people can see it without hurting themselves. Do a tiered presentation retail. Look at what everyone else is doing, and you'll get good ideas on how to make that work. Lots
Right.
of great Facebook groups for that right now.
Yeah.
And then, what was my other thing? Don't sit down and look at your phone for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be boring, But if you don't make eye contact, then people are just going to keep walking.
Yeah.
So, make sure
If you
you're
can get
talking to
away
people.
with this, yeah, and if you can get away with the samples, or if you have a coupon that you can
Yeah.
stand out, and if it's things are dead or quiet
Or
for you,
sample or whatever.
stand out
Yeah.
in front of your table. If you're by yourself, so what? If it's quiet, so what? Stand out in
Hmm.
front of your table and say, "Hey, here's a coupon, or here's a
Yeah.
get one,
Or
buy
would you
one.
like a
We're doing this."
sample? You don't have to drive people crazy and be super annoying. There's a fine line with that. But you do want to, just look animated, look like you care. Because if
Yeah,
you made the effort to be there and set up, and it's not always an easy process, you're there to sell. Do not sit on your phone and watch football for 4 hours because that will get you nowhere. Seriously, get
yeah,
you nowhere. So,
yeah. Well, I'm just going to give a couple last tips and then we're going to wrap this up because we're
okay.
actually heading back to Ohio here to see my nephew, well, it's not my nephew. I guess it's
Grandnephew?
my
Grandnephew?
grandnephew's baseball or football
Yeah.
tonight. Because I'm 3 hours difference with Andrew. We got to start heading out here. But um, a couple last tips. Well, I would definitely get your camera out and film some behind the scenes things that you're doing so you can post that for your social media to get more market and let people know where you're going to be. Let them know ahead of time if you can. Tag other vendors if there's groups set up for that event or whatever it is, or even if you end up at a winery or something. I'd like get get ask them if it's okay if you post it. I'm sure they would. Why wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Post your stuff. Hey, I'm getting ready for this big event, whatever it is. Film all that, and then you also have it for your website as well. So I would definitely do that. And another thing you might want to consider is also partnering with other cottage food vendors or other food vendors that might be a good complement to you. In fact, Andrew and I were just talking about that. She's going to be doing this one event. I said, hey, maybe I'll bring over some of my gift boxes and see how they do. My cupcake gift boxes, see how they do. But partner with other vendors and see, because if you've got other people that sell something similar, or that would complement you. Obviously, you don't want to sell the same thing that they're selling. So maybe you sell charcuterie and someone else sells jams. I think that'd be
Mm-hmm.
great. Or somebody, you're at a wine event and you can sell your charcuterie, talk to them ahead of time and see if, hey, can I set up my charcuterie table or my cart next to your wine tasting, whatever you're doing. So I think that's a great way to get exposure because people may be coming to these events just to see those people and they happen to see you as well. So it's a really
Mm-hmm.
good idea. And then the last thing would be to think outside the box a little bit. Maybe you do some sort of giveaways or some sort of a game that you can get people to come up to your table and maybe, say, go bring three more, give these out and send them to me and I'll give you a coupon, send other people to the table. There's so much you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal obviously is to get exposure. And I think that's the best thing you could be doing when you're out at these events, obviously
Yeah,
and
it's a
let other
combination of
people know.
sales and exposure for future things. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I had somebody
Exactly.
ask me just a real cut in. I had somebody ask me recently, it doesn't make sense to be a sponsor or to be a vendor. Like that's a no-brainer. You want to be a vendor every time. You don't want to spend
Hmm.
money on being a sponsor. That's not gonna, I mean, it might get you some business, but that's not getting in front of people. That's not
Yeah.
it. That's more like if you're a construction business or something.
If you had a
That's not,
choice. Yeah.
yeah. If you have a choice, go be a vendor and give out some samples and talk to people.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right,
Hmm.
sister. Well, I think we'll try to record again on Monday next week. Hopefully, I
Okay.
have time before I head out of town and sing for a week. But glad to see you from afar.
Yeah.
You probably saw my brother running around
Have
here.
fun.
He's
Yeah.
packed the car out.
Your brother.
So,
Our brother.
you're
Our
my
brother.
brother. No, you're my brother. No, our brother, our older brother. Yeah, I'm at my older brother's house. So anyway, all right, sis, we
Okay.
will talk to you. If any of you are need some help, make sure and join our world. We have a
Hmm.
Facebook group. It's called Charcuterie. Start your. I changed the name of
No,
it.
we changed the name of
Charcuterie
it.
and
Charcuterie and
Cottage
Cottage.
Biz cottage business. So you should check us out on Facebook. There's a link here in the show notes, so make sure and check that out and join us over there. It's a
Hmm.
free group, and we're all helping each other out. We'd love to have you
Yeah.
come in there. So come on in and get some help if you feel like you need it, or just share
Yeah.
your stories because we love to hear how y'all are doing out there in the world. And we're coming into cold season for everybody else that are going to be doing. I'd love to hear. We might find somebody that's in the cold, cold country and see what they do in the middle of winter, and
I
how you
wonder
sell
that
because I'd
too,
love to.
because
Yeah,
we don't have
yeah,
that problem. So
yeah,
we can sell year round. But now is the time where people are really kicking in. We were just talking about that. So the
yeah.
southern part of the United States, all these craft shows and different things are popping up now that our
Mm-hmm.
heat is finally gone, even though we just got clobbered by rain, which was really strange.
Oh, I
But
know.
yeah,
It
everything,
was nuts.
everybody was
Oh
washed
my God.
away in
Tempe got it
Arizona.
so bad. They
Tempe got
closed
it
the
terrible.
zoo for the
I
first
know.
time in forever because they got just wiped out. So it was
When
like
I
little
flew in,
microburst.
when
Yeah.
we flew in, this is just another side note. We flew in and Nicole, my daughter, was with me, and she took video. It looked like the land of a thousand lakes down there.
Oh my gosh.
It seriously did. Like, and then driving home, we got caught in the outer skirts of that microburst, and it was terrible. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty ugly.
Mm.
Anyways.
Mhm.
It
You're
does
safe
happen
home
out
now,
here. We do have our issues. We have very few, but we've got weather issues. So, and
occasionally.
it doesn't always relate to 120 degrees. So crazy.
All right.
All
We'll
right. Well,
talk to
have
y'all
fun at
later.
Gabriel's football game, and
See
we'll
you
see you
later. Bye,
next
everybody. Thanks for
week.
hanging out with us.
Bye.
Bye.